I very much enjoyed reading The Silent Woods. I thought it was very admiring how the author really drew you in and kept you anticipating what would happen next. Finished one chapter and it's, I need to know what happened next, even if you know the scene's going to change, somebody's going to exit or enter the story. And just the simplest things, like, for example, going to Walmart. I think that is the most fascinating description of a trip to Walmart I've ever encountered or read. I mean, it was exciting, it was suspenseful, because, they're trying to hide, they live off the radar. And you get and you get a feeling of just how difficult that is, because you can't have a single person recognize you. And of course, the more you want to not be seen or recognized, the more coincidences happen to where, why did this have to happen now? Why did this person have to be here at this moment when I'm not wanting to be seen? Of course, if you don't mind being seen, you never encounter these, but it's when you least expect it, you don't want it, but it happens, such as the state trooper at the gas station. And sometimes you read a book and you think, I can pretty much predict one or two ways this is going to end. That happens. And when you've read a few stories, you kind of can tell, because you get to know how authors and the characters interact. How the author has written them too. But this ending was surprising to me, because the person that you kind of feel is up to no good, could be the villain of the story, turns out to be the hero, which is a nice change, but it really, the way the story is written, it makes you question, did I misjudge this character? Were they heroic the whole time? Well, no, they were portrayed and putting those thoughts into your head that they probably had more malicious intent than not. And I didn't really understand that. I think the author, instead of having them do a very truly disrespectful act to where it would show that they had poor intentions, tried to plant those seeds instead of your mind to where you would have an idea that it was probably like that. But I would understand that more if they did turn out to be the villain in the end, but it just feels too much of a 180, so I feel like the author gave too many seeds to kind of plant that idea in an attempt to throw you off at the end. And I feel like what meant to be a twist at the end of the book was just kind of poorly navigated. There were a lot of better ways that could have been written, but I still have respect for how the author wrote it, because that's the story they wanted and that's what they saw happening. And I always appreciate that. I want to see stories from the eyes of others. I want to know, okay, what was this author thinking? What was this character thinking? But it becomes less of a story about that character and more of questioning what the author was thinking when the story doesn't line up as well as it has throughout the whole book. So the ending just threw me off, but it is still a book I would recommend to somebody, just because you can't base, like they say, you can't base a book off this cover. We can't base it just on the ending. That doesn't mean that there wasn't a beautiful story in there. There wasn't great suspense. So I want to say last year that was the most, I'd have to say, drawing book. It really drew me in to where I just did not want to stop reading it. And that was probably the most intense one I read last year. And I think it's for that reason that I would suggest it to someone. But it's nowhere near like my top, like my top 50, my top 10. It's not like that. I kind of go off of how it made me feel, what it made me long for, how much suspense, because that's what I really love, is when I just want to know what happens next. And it's really nice actually when you can kind of predict it, but it's just even more than you predicted. That's what I love, and that's what this book gave me. So that's my take on it.